Alright, so apparently we are getting a channel tonight. It's sort of trolling, though. They delayed it by just enough to convince everybody that, no, we're not getting anything tonight, and then it goes live. I don't know exactly why that happened, but hey, we still get it tonight, so let's see what we've got here.
Flap, 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 flap. Flap, 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 flap. Flap, flap.
Just gonna turn this down a little
Hello,
bit.
summoners. I'll be announcing today from this lovely venue.
I think that's okay. Let me know if it's still too loud.
It sure is warm and cozy here. Now then, I, Faye, have gathered some fantastic news for you summoners. Let's get started with our special Choose Your Legends edition of
Why is there a teapot?
Faye Channel. First up... Ta-da!
Okay, so he gets
The
CYL
Choose Your
first.
Legends round 8
Not wasting
heroes
time
have
with that.
arrived. And of course, these heroes are Choose Your Legends versions of themselves. Now, let me introduce them.
I still find it wild that Alphonse made it in.
Fine clothes. I couldn't.
Oh, so
Though,
Robin
I
got
suppose
exactly
they're
the same
necessary if
outfit
I'm to
as
stand next to the Exalt.
It's Robin,
Other Robin.
who plays second in the women's division. She continues to impress as Elise's star tactician.
It still looks great, though.
And what
It's
a
actually
majestic
really cool how
outfit.
well,
Her
or how
elaborate shirt
good
and
that
stately
outfit looks
cloak
on
emit a
both of
real
them.
sense of dignity, don't you think? A fitting look for Crom's war counselor. Robin's weapon skill is Exalt's tactics. Its main attribute
so
is that
she
it
got
bestows
another
divine vein
divine
ice
vein.
on spaces 2 spaces away from her after she finishes her action.
Oh, so it's
This
destructible
ice is an
terrain.
obstacle that only
It's like
her
a broken
allies
wall.
can traverse. But since it's an
Neat.
obstacle, it'll break when it's attacked. Oh, and you can still take damage from attacks while you're on top of this divine vein. So perch with caution.
Okay.
Her B skill, according to
And she got
plan,
Hush Spectrum, so
inflicts
called
penalty
that.
effects on groups of foes while granting Canto to herself and nearby allies.
So it's like a Link
Her
4.
C skill,
as well.
Creation Pulse, reduces her special cooldown count based on the penalty effects inflicted on her foe before the first attack during combat.
Oh,
In
nifty.
addition, according
Okay.
to plan, also reduces her foe's stats and increases her damage dealt based on the number of bonus effects she has and the number of penalty effects her foe has.
How many
That-
foes have tasted my blade?
Ooh, Felix.
Too many.
Alright,
to
Felix,
count.
what have you got?
And I assure you,
Wait, Felix
There
gets
will be
11
more to
sword?
come.
Oh, we're going to have so many people complaining
It's
about this.
Felix, who placed
There are
second
going to
in
be
the
so
men's
many
division.
people complaining about Felix and
Dang.
Robin's sword instead of
Feast
Robin.
your eyes on the outfit of a sword savant who has mastered his study of both swordsmanship and reason. That notched
He
sword
looks
in his
great.
hand is a Levin sword. And with it, no one will stand a chance against Felix. His C skill, Endless
Oh,
Tempest,
Tempest 4.
grants him 1 extra space of movement at the start of the turn.
Okay.
If he moves before attacking, he nullifies foe
And it's
stat
got-
bonuses. Plus,
Oh, okay, so
his
it's
stats
like a...
increase based on the number
It's a
of
clash
spaces
effect.
he moved.
A Spectrum Clash that
These effects
neutralizes
also
opponent's
trigger if a
bonuses
foe
instead of
moves
neutralizing
before
his own
attacking
penalties.
Felix. His weapon skill, New Levin Sword, increases stats during combat and reduces his special cooldown
okay,
count
so
by
this
2.
is our first
This magical
double up
weapon can be
slaying
effective against
effect.
foes with high defense and allows him to counterattack from a distance.
I find
And he
absolutely
can take
wild that they're
extra
giving us
actions with his beast
slaying
skill,
2
Lone
just
Wolf.
baseline on a weapon.
Should he continue
So it's got
to
a
defeat his
phantom.
foes, or should he retreat? I sense new strategies on the horizon.
Okay, so he gets Gale Forces too?
So, what do you think? Do I look fancy?
Aw, it's Bernadetta!
I like
winner
her
of the
neutral art
women's
more than her
division.
attack art.
She appears as a bow knight. She's looking mighty strong in that purple armor that matches the color of her hair. Bernadetta is a talented archer, and I, for one, can't wait to be dazzled by her acute bowmanship. Her C skill, Paranoia, projects her own penalties onto her foes. On top of that, she grants her
Oh,
nearby
neat.
allies paranoia too, making them more powerful if they lose just a little HP.
So
That
yes,
weapon in her hand is
the usual Bernie thing where
inexhaustible.
she
If she initiates
does
combat
her stuff
or
with
has an
pinging
active bonus
damage.
effect, her stats will increase during combat.
They're using
Plus,
Ike
she
as
deals more
a
damage
showcase.
based on her speed.
Okay, I'm gonna do
Her
it.
special, curved shot,
Sorry,
reduces
but this
damage
is
dealt to her in
So
certain
this is an
conditions,
inheritable special,
and
isn't it?
increases the
Hang on.
damage she deals with her special based on her foe's stats. Other
Yeah,
allies
this
can
is a
inherit
special.
this
This is an
too.
inheritable special, and they mentioned it. Cool. Definitely going to take a closer look at all of
I will
these.
work every day to be a king worthy of your legacy, Father.
Oh,
Please guide my
okay.
hand.
Fair enough.
It's Alphonse, winner
Alphonse
of the
going
men's
after
division.
Gustav.
He appears this time in Gustav's garb. Aww, he looks so magnificent dressed like his father. Alphonse has grown to inherit his father's will. My heart flutters at the kingly aura that radiates from him. His special,
That's the way.
Makings of a King, can increase his damage dealt. And it also has an effect that empowers great talent, a new type
Wait.
of power-up. The value
I
of
was going
great
to say, wait a
talent
minute,
is
that
reflected
is new.
directly in the hero's stats. At the start of turns, and after combat in which Makings of a King is activated,
Of course.
great talent increases. The great talent
Huh.
that is built up does not reset.
Okay, hang on. I I wasn't planning to pause until we'd gotten through all of this, but I really, really want to see what exactly is going on with this. So it does 30% of def plus def great talent. Huh. Okay. And he has, I think this is unpierceable DR as well. So at the start of turn, grants stats great talent +2 to himself and +1 to allies. And after combat, it does double that value to the same radius for self and allies. This skill grants max of great talent +20 for unit and 10 for allies. Okay, so it's visible stats, if I'm understanding what the owl was saying too. Basically what this is doing is it adds visible stats every time this is activating up to the cap down here, the max of +20. So he can basically, like, with enough of these activations, he can get +20 visible attack def res. I'm not sure how much of that is currently being reflected in his stats on screen here, but that's going to be pretty wild. Okay, that's a new mechanic. Alright, let's see what else we've got here.
Until the end of the map. And if certain conditions are
Oh,
met,
he's also got Breath of
he
Life,
also
so everyone
increases
has
his
a
allies'
free
great
cool Breath
talent,
of Life too if
thereby
they want.
adding to their stats too. Not only
Stay
that,
focused now.
but with the effect of his
So he's got
weapon,
Kanto,
Majestic
Slade.
Glitnir, Alphonse's defense and resistance increase, and he gets +1 to his movement.
True damage, true
His
DR.
B skill,
Yada, yada.
Reopening,
Oh, this is a
reduces
different
his foe's
guard
attack
skill.
stat while reducing their special cooldown charge by 1. Plus, he does more damage based
Oh, so
on his
it's
defense.
anti-pulse guard.
Fei Fei!
Huh.
His weapon skill and special also increase the
Wait,
damage
it's
he
got
deals based on
Shudiar?
his defense. so
Oh,
he
that
can
is going to
really
be a
dish it out.
very hot B slot,
After
depending on
combat,
its...
his A skill, Fortifications, bestows
Wait, this is a
Divine
new one
Vein
already?
Stone on the area within 2 spaces of him when he ends his turn.
Distant
And
counter with
if he
Divine
is on a
Vein
space
active.
affected by
Okay.
Divine Vein, he can counterattack foes who attack from a distance.
Oh, that's an... Okay, he's just loaded with fodder.
That's
Wow.
all for the famous introductions. The heroes chosen in Choose Your Legends Round 8 will appear in the new Hero Summoning event in Those We Hope, set to begin on August 16th. This is another special occasion where everyone can summon a focus hero of their choice.
Yeah, I'm
for
loving how
free.
Felix looks. Like,
And
his
they can
art
do this
just
up to
looks
4
so
times.
good.
Once after each interval of summoning 40, 80, 120, and 160 times. Fei!
Yeah, so I'm
Also this
definitely
year,
going to be
there
looking
will of
closer
course
at
be a free
all of
summoning
the
event
all
where
four
you
of
can
these.
summon a 5-star
Alphonse
hero of your choice.
is looking really interesting. I don't know
Oh,
if
better
it's
start
really
thinking
going to
about
be
your
for
next
himself,
pick.
but
The
that
Weave of Fate free
the amount
summoning
of
event
fodder he
featuring
comes with
heroes
is
from
going
the
to make
Choose Your
him
Legends
so
Round
good
6
as a
event
pity
will
breaker
end
or
on
just a
August
free pull.
30th. If you haven't already, don't forget to take advantage
And I think
of
one
this
of the
free
most
summon.
important parts to keep in
And
mind with
for the
Alphonse
grand hero battle this
is
time,
that all three of those skills should
as
be
a
very
lady,
easy
I
to
shall
inherit and
exterminate
copy.
thy foes with the utmost elegance.
Hey,
You will face Panette from the Fire Emblem Engage game. She is Tamara's retainer and a royal warrior for Sohm. She works
all these
tirelessly
wonderful,
to learn
splendid
how to
units, and
behave
then
speak properly for a
Panette just
retainer.
getting absolutely wrecked here. It does look
Grand
like she gets a
Hero
perf
Battle
at least.
Panette Classy Brawler will be available starting
But
August
really?
17th.
Fire Boost and Panic Smoke? Panic Smoke isn't
All of the
bad,
Choose
but
Your Legends heroes
yeah,
are sure
they
plucky,
really need
aren't
to
they?
update the
They
hero
have
battle,
lots of impressive
hero battle
skills,
skills.
too. I wonder how they'll make an impact on things. While we ponder that, let's move on. Faye! Starting August 15th, you'll be able to power up your heroes more times with
Okay,
dragon flowers.
so the usual Dragon Flower
Each
bonuses.
hero will be able to use them 5 more times.
Hope everybody's been stocking up.
Because of this increase, 1,000 of each type of dragon flower will be up for grabs in the next Forging Bonds. That's a total of 4,000 dragon flowers. Sounds like your heroes could get quite a bit stronger. Faye! What a lovely spread. Faye? Oh, that's right! To commemorate the appearance of the Choose Your Legends heroes, there is a website for you to celebrate with them. It's called Legendary Tea Time. Find out what's brewing by using the link in this video's description. Faye, that's it for today. Faye, Alphonse! I'll take that scrumptious-looking treat. Ugh.
Yeah, so
Sleepy
we
after
got some
eating
pretty
so
cool
much.
stuff in here. Felix with a baseline -2 slaying.
On my way.
That opens up some really crazy options for him, just by default. Because not only does he get that -2, you can also stick Marth on him for another -1. Let's see here. Okay, so we're going to start going through these a little bit more closely and see what we're dealing with exactly. So Robin has the breakable walls in her weapon, and it's a 2-space diamond around her. That's going to be really, really strong in so many modes. I think especially in something like an offense team. Just even apart from the rest of her kit, that is going to mess with so many defenses. Like, obviously, yes, Celica can still warp past that, but even then, this gives you terrain that she can't warp onto, which already lets you mess with her ability to reach you at all, even though she can warp over those tiles. So yeah, I think most of this is just talking about how she activates the Divine Vein Ice. And it looks like only one unit gets to throw these ice veins down at once, so multiple Robins can't fill up the entire battlefield with ice. You only get one set of ice per turn, no matter what. Although, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when you have Robins on both sides of the battlefield. So the rest of her weapon outside of that is slaying, stats, the 14 as usual these days, null penalties, null guard, and full pierce, whenever her special activates. And then we've got, according to plan, which, like I said, it's basically a tier 4 link for attack speed that also does Hush Spectrum and Panic with no range limit either on that. It's the closest enemy and enemies within 2 spaces. Oh, wait, no, hold on, this is start of turn. So it's a start of turn with Link included. Link 4, rather. I saw the stats in Kanto 1 and my mind immediately went to Link. No, it's just a start of turn bonus. Okay. That's pretty good. Hush Spectrum is a very strong debuff to just be able to throw out like that, with no conditions. Unlike the Duo Robin we got earlier this year, who can be baited out before she ends up actually applying the debuff, she just does this every turn. Theoretically, you could Elamine this, as long as, Freyr doesn't exist. But, yeah, that's going to be a very, very strong effect. Makes me glad that I didn't jump on board the Duo Robin train immediately. Although, Duo Robin does still have the upside of the whole self-refresh mechanic, so still has that going for her, and the Duo to enable a hindrance. So she gets more stats. She does up to 25 true damage. Oh, so Nurgle style true damage and true DR. So she's basically blue Nurgle with start of turn debuffs, along with the Divine Vein. Yeah, Nurgle, I say Nurgle, it's more like the Legendary Claude version of this, where she not only scales with her own bonuses, but also scales with her opponent's penalties. Yeah, she's going to be very solid. And the Inheritable... Yeah, it's a pre-charge based on the number of penalties, times 2. So if you have a single penalty and you're fighting against her, she still gets a pre-charge of 2. If you have 2 penalties, she gets a pre-charge of 4. There is no upper limit to this. So if you have 3 penalties on you, good luck trying to scowl that. She's going to have a fully charged special, and she's not going to care. That's a very powerful Inheritable. I think it's probably going to be an infantry-locked ability. I don't think it's going to be ranged exclusive. It's probably just chaining out of time spells for melee and infantry both. That's going to be very solid. I think it'll be a bit rougher to use into teams with, like, for example, Freyr or Tuned Micaiah, who are busy cleansing debuffs and make it a little bit harder to get those applied consistently. But that's a very strong option for quite a number of units. Alright, so Felix. Let's see what my boy's got. So this should upgrade from, I imagine, both Even and Odd Tempest, and is just the level 4 version of it and works on both turns. Along with the Clash effect that neutralizes enemy bonuses instead of units penalties. Yeah, I figured that one out already. So his sword is our first Slaying 2 weapon, with built-in distant counter and adaptive damage. The adaptive damage is nice. They haven't been throwing the Mystic Boost effect around as often lately. They were doing it quite a bit at one point in time, but I think it's rare enough now, and you don't see anybody using Mystic Boost as a skill these days. This could end up being a very, very strong effect for him. So, while solo, or solo-ish, he gets stats, more stats based on speed, null guard, and half pierce. Honestly, this weapon is insane just for that slaying too. Like I mentioned earlier, you can still throw Marth on him.
Effective against foes.
Oops. You can still throw Marth on him, and that gives you slaying 3, which drops Gale Force to a 2-charge cooldown. And he has null guard, so if you give him Marth, a, say, Times Pulse or Infantry Pulse, and that's all he needs for a 1-tap Gale Force. Which feels kind of insane, especially since I think he was also getting extra actions out of his B skill. So he's got Phantom Speed 2, I think, out of this, the +7. So if he hasn't used or been the target of an assist skill during the turn, he gets another action and inflicts isolation on himself and... Okay. So I think this is meant to try and limit the shenanigans he can get up to by saying you're not going to be able to dance him again before, or dance him rather, before or after this triggers. So, but it is Gale Force. As long as he either initiated combat or took an action with... Oh, that's actually... Okay, this is cool. So usually, let's use Edelgard as a very easy example here. Usually with this, the extra action requires you to fight. Felix has the option of using that extra action, or getting that extra action by doing anything. Oh, wait, hold on. Not only that, if I'm reading this correctly, these count separately. He can trigger both of them in the same turn. Okay, Felix is looking ridiculous. So, if I'm understanding this correctly, what you can do is you can move Felix, get another action, attack with Felix, get another action, and then do whatever. And if, let's say hypothetically, you get a Gale Force on his third action, he gets a fourth action. Oh, that is hilariously silly. Especially with his native +1 movement skill. That's going to be very, very strong. Half Pierce, Null Guard, he's getting true damage based on speed, and true damage reduction based on speed. That also applies to AoE, by the way. That's actually really important to know. And then he gets another 20% of speed as true DR when his opponent is using a damaging special. Huh. Yeah, Felix is looking very solid. I'm looking forward to him. He was already going to be one of the merge projects I'm probably going to work on out of this banner, between him and Robin. And yeah, he's looking like he has so many ridiculous options he can play with. This is going to be fun. So Bernie, you've got Paranoia, and that's her perf. So she gets Null Follow-Up and Paranoia. So she's only giving Null Follow-Up to herself. Paranoia is going to herself and nearby allies, and she also pings herself and nearby allies for 1 damage at the start of every turn, no matter what. So you can ping yourself multiple times across turns. And at the start of the turn, any penalty that she has gets applied to any enemy, or to the closest enemy within 5 spaces, and anyone within 2 spaces of them. So that's, normally that means her attack range. You do have to be a little bit careful with this. It's something that I noticed with, when I was using Guinea on my Dark Defense. Things like Pathfinder can really mess with this if you're trying to use it on a defense, which is going to be a really good place to use it. Because just being able to throw all of your opponent's penalties back at their tank is, yeah, that's going to be pretty ridiculous. Also has some very funny implications with things like gravity. One of the things I am very curious about with this skill is how the priority is going to work with this and effects that cleanse debuffs. Because if this applies after things like, what's her name? Repair from that one staff unit we got a while back. Safi, I think? Hang on, just checking. I think that's her name. Yeah, Safi's repair or one of the recovery skills, that sort of thing. If those apply first, then you never ever want to have them on a team with Brave Bernie. If those apply second, then not only do you get to throw all those debuffs back at your enemies, but then you also don't have to suffer having those debuffs yourself, which could be really good. So Paranoia's attack and this is the buff that she's giving to herself and allies, so her entire team usually will have this, is plus attack, desperation, and oh, this second part is an enemy face ability. Okay, so if you're defending, so if you meet all of these conditions, if you're defending with less than max HP, and if they match range or the opponent has enough debuffs, then you get advantage. That's a lot of conditions, but it is a lot of conditions, but it's also a donatable vantage skill, which, oh, that could turn her into one of the best supports in the game, actually, just that on its own. I say that, it will take a lot of effort to make sure this sets up properly, because 3 penalties it's going to be tricky to actually get to stick, especially with, like I mentioned earlier, units like Attuned Micaiah or any of the recovery units, or Freyr even. But that has a lot of potential. With that said, too, you also have to keep in mind that it is a visible bonus, and that is itself vulnerable to stuff like Nurgle, who's on screen right here, Tina, Loki. There are things that mess with visible bonuses, which I think is why they feel safe putting this skill out there as is. Still, I think that vantage alone is going to make her a really useful unit to have in your barracks. And all of that was just her perf. So her weapon, so she has Super Canto. She gets to Canto as far as she moved, up to 3. Slaying, multi-hit, stats based on speed, true damage based on speed, and half pierce. Okay, some of these weapons are feeling kind of samey with the stats, pierce, slaying type of thing. But I think that's not necessarily the worst. There's enough unique stuff going on between them so far that they are different. I think Alphonse ends up getting the most unique kit out of everybody. Oh, that's a nifty special. So it's like Moonbow, but it can also adapt to hit enemy speed if they have higher speed than defense. And it's pretty rare for a unit to have both really low defense and really low speed at the same time, which makes this a very, very good damaging special. Oh, so not only is it superior moonbow, but it also comes with a flexible block, the Dragon's Roar Armored Bacon type of block, and there's no range restriction on this either. And this is inheritable. It is probably going to be locked to archers, but I don't think that the archer restriction is going to include a movement type restriction. It is almost certainly just an alternative to Deadeye for archers. And it's also a 2 count cooldown. It's a 1 charge right here, and she has slaying, so that's a very solid special. Also looks like she has Assassin Strike and Attack Speed Prime as inheritables. I didn't actually look at the others. Hang on. Now I'm curious. Oh, Felix gets Excel? Oh, that's going to be a nice one. Also going to hurt because I want to merge him, but it's going to be nice to have that in the main summoning pool. What else did Robin get? Oh, wow. Finish. Finish is good. I won't complain about more finish in the pool, but it's not quite as unique as everybody else's kits. Same with... no, I think finish is a lot more common than something like Assassin's Strike. Okay, so last but definitely not least, Alphonse. And they're starting with his perf special, which I already was going over, but it's... So I think what this is doing is it's actually double dipping in its damage, because what they were mentioning during the trailer is that these great talent bonuses that you're getting from Alphonse, and I'm assuming other units going forwards, they are added into your visible stat total, a lot like the emblem rings with merges. So I don't know how many of those bonuses... Wait, no, you can tell right here. So he's actually got 60 baseline attack here, defense here, not 68. I saw the 68 and was trying to figure out exactly how he was getting that much. So he's got a base of 54, he's got a visible bonus of 6, and the great talent adding 8. And what I meant about double dipping is that this special is doing 30% of his total defense, so 30% of that 68, and then does another chunk of damage scaling with that great talent bonus. So with a +8 bonus, he's doing 30% of his defense plus another 8 of damage with this special. And he's also, I want to say this is basically Great Ether's damage reduction, isn't it? Let me check. Yeah, reduces damage from attacks during combat by percentage equals 40 minus current special cooldown count value times 10. Yeah, it is word for word Ike DR is what they gave to Alphonse. Okay, he's actually going to be... We've all seen exactly how terrifying Ike can be. Alphonse, I don't think he's going to be quite on the same level. He does not have any... He has no access to Null C Disrupt, and he also doesn't have built-in distant counter. Unless... Wait, I haven't seen his weapon yet, but I don't remember seeing Null C in his weapon. He does get distant counter from that new A slot, as long as he has a Divine Vein to work with. Yeah, and the rest of this special is just how to activate the Great Talent, which he gets +2 at the start of every turn and gives +1 to his allies in a Gatekeeper cross. And every time the special activates, or every combat that his special activates, he does another +4 to himself and +2 to his allies in that Gatekeeper cross. I don't know if I'm sold on him as a support to enable this great talent for his allies. But yes, actually, I was just about to mention that, is that if you can basically sneak him in and trigger that special and Kento back out to set up for a tank to sweep the rest of the team, it's going to be really, really strong. Otherwise, I think it takes too long for this to ramp. You can potentially get up to +12 stats in an AR match, but at that point you have to finish the match that turn, or it's over, because you're out of time, barring Milla, but it does require you to actually use this special if you want to max this out in a timely fashion. It is also worth noting that this great talent bonus is not... These are stats that you can't do anything to, because they're just visible stats that aren't a bonus. It's like Fury's type stats. It's just there. Once those stats are active, they're not going away. You can't lull them, you can't panic them, anything. They're just going to be there. I could actually see him being an excellent defense unit. He's going to be extremely tanky, like Ike, but he also makes his entire team harder and harder to crack every single turn that they aren't engaged on. And, kind of amusingly, you could probably put multiple Alphonses on the team and stack this bonus twice as fast per turn. Yeah, he's going to have some very interesting stuff going on. Definitely going to want to get at least one copy of him. I think I'm going to hope for 2 because this guy is just so loaded with fodder. Easily duplicatable fodder too, if I'm not very mistaken. So yeah, he has built-in Kanto and slaying, which is fantastic. He does not have Nulsi Disrupt, so that was the one thing I was looking at. So he is going to have that as a drawback versus Ike. But on the other hand, he is a lot more mobile, and his visible stats can just scale hilariously out of control. I mean, really, getting +20 attack def res from your special as just permanent bonuses, that's very, very solid. I would not be surprised if we start seeing stat caps on units in the very near future unless they raise it above 99. We were already getting pretty close, and this is going to push it right up to that ceiling. So, let's see. Oh, he's also a 4 movement cavalry, so, you know, your Selifs. Alphonse is joining the crew. He gives himself visible def res bonuses from the weapon. And he's only giving these to himself. He does not give any of this to his allies. It's very personal. He gets defenses, plus on movement, and a times pulse. It is a basic times pulse, so it's not like a pulse up blades where you could potentially charge up a really large special over a couple of turns. So if he initiates, stats, more stats. So it's basically bonus def res to himself, and plus attack by penalizing his opponent's defenses. He does true damage based on his defense. He gets true DR based on his defense. Now, and unlike... Oh, okay, so unlike... I think it was Robin who was getting true damage based on... that worked on AoEs? Someone was. But Alphonse's does not work on AoEs. and he has full Pierce on special. I find it wild that every single one of these has Pierce in their weapon in some flavor. Either it's half Pierce for Felix and I think it was Bernie, and Robin and Alphonse got full Pierce on special. Oh no, he gets times pulse 4. Okay. Still not pulse up blades, but that is times pulse 4 on a cavalry unit. Oh, okay. Let me see. Hang on. I think this Makings of a King is a 2-count special, because it's pre-charged here before any of the combats begin. Let's see. Yeah, so this is a 2-count special. He's going to be firing this constantly. Wow. And this is one of his... They actually gave Alphonse 2 brand new inheritables at the same time. This, I think, is a side grade off of Guard. That's what the skill looks like, and looks like it's a much better version of Guard 4, where you get... It basically trades out the entire Guard effect for Scowl, an attack penalty, and both true damage and damage reduction based on your defense. So how much of a percent is it? Okay, so it's only 10% of defense. It's not... It's half the value, basically, of Legu's Friend, and does not include the Pierce. Now, if you only hit one time, so for your really slow units who want to limit combat to I hit you once, it is worth 20%, so same value as Legu's Friend for them. But if you hit twice, or have a multi-hit effect going, it's only worth 10% of your defense. I like this. I think it's not, say, completely eclipsing Legu's Friend, which would be insane, but it's a nice alternative, and it should be available to a lot more units than Legu's Friend is. It's on Alphonse, who's a cavalry. I would be surprised if this doesn't become available, if this isn't available to everybody. Guard is already, and if this is just an unrestricted inherit, that's a very strong option for a lot of those slow, bulky units who've just been in such an awkward place for a very long time, who aren't infantry and haven't been able to benefit from Legu's Friend. And fortifications is... Huh. Yeah, so this is distant counter as long as you have a Divine Vein active. I'm trying to figure out how he got one here. Wait, does he... Hang on, did I completely miss that he has Divine Vein in his weapon? No. How did the... Okay, so I think they may have left an effect out of this weapon in the trailer. I think he's also planting Divine Vein Stone after his actions.
Reducing their special... He does more damage based on his defense. Fei! His weapon...
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They didn't add this to his weapon in the trailer, but he's also got Brave Corrin's Divine Vein, effectively. That is... Oh, he's going to be very hard to kill. He's going to be very, very hard to kill. Oh, wait, no, it's not in his weapon, it's just in... It's an inheritable. Oh, I'm blind. I should have read through the entire skill before trying to figure this out and solve it. No, it's in his A slot. Well, now I feel really silly. So, what we have now is a distant counter option that also gives you an inheritable Divine Vein stone, which is new. That has been locked to Corrin and Lumera, right? So far? Those are the only two who have had access to it. And now everybody who potentially wants distant counter in their A slot can also have access to this. The bright side is I don't think you're going to see too many Ikes using this, just because he already has distant counter, so that part of it is unnecessary. Also, it's going to be a lot harder for someone like Ike to use this, barring, Silicon Gauge shenanigans, just because the entire effect is conditional on you entering combat in the player phase, and then ending your turn after. So this is a hit and sit ability. With that said, the condition of hit and sit is being supported a lot here by A, the Divine Vein, and B, it actually is doubling the flat damage reduction that the Divine Vein gives you. You've got 10 flat from the stone, and then this special is also giving you another 10 flat DR against enemy specials. He's not. If you throw a special at him in combat, he's not going to take damage. He's got 20 flat DR from this, and then he's also got another 20% of his defense between his weapon and his B slot as flat DR. And then on top of that, he's got Ike scaling percentage DR in his special. And let me double check here, because I think that's going to be broken as it gets. Because unlike Ike, he's not required to use a 3-count special to make this work. He has a 1-count special and times pulse 4. So this effect is basically always going to be at 40%. The only times this is going to be at 30% is if he's just used a special and you haven't died and get to attack him a second time. And then it's at 30% instead of 40. It's never going to be at 0. This is actually going to be a very, very tanky unit. So he might not have Null Sea Disrupt, but I think he's going to be very, very strong. I might end up wanting to merge this guy. He was kind of my third place option, but I'm liking what I'm seeing out of him. He's got a lot of value here. And also, he could be what I think he could also be a fun unit for is a sort of double carry style, where you're using him with a second unit. I'm saying the banner trailer's up. Let me see if I can get that pulled up. Hang on. Let's see here. Alright. So we'll watch through this, see if I missed anything, and if not, we're going to call it a night. But I'm pretty sure that I've covered all of it accurately here.
I should not be content with my current position.
We'll see. But I think I've broken this down fairly accurately.
For these things.
Oh, she's also got Flare. I missed that. Yeah, I think overall I'm pretty happy with this set of CYL units. Like last year, I think they're all really strong in their own right.
Just as I planned.
I'm trying to think of who I would call the clear winner out of this batch.
Humans and beasts are ultimately the same. When they're cornered, they lash out however they can. They fight for their lives.
Ah, Felix. Everybody's favorite edgy sword boy.
I'll handle it.
Yep. Oh, and he gets Gust? Ooh. Yeah, okay, all of these units are going to be spectacular for fodder. I could see that. I think that Robin's is definitely has that deja vu feel after when she's using the exact same outfit as Robin from last year. So, yeah, they probably could have picked something more inspired for that one. Felix, I think, is okay. We actually haven't seen this class show up as an art style at all in FEH yet, so yeah, I think he looks good in it. It could have been something more unique, but also it does fit him really well. Bernie's I'm not as fond of.
Okay. I'll do my
I mean, yes, it's the Bow Knight class, but I like her attack art in particular. Just I don't know, it doesn't really click for me. Alphonse, I think, looks pretty good. I mean, yes, he's kind of continuing the trend of taking his dead dad's outfit that Ike started back in CYL 1. But he wears it well, and it actually looks pretty good.
Okay, I'm gonna do it!
Everyone has high expectations of me. It's an honor to know that so many have such faith.
So we got 2 calves and 2 infantries this round. No flyer and no armor. Interesting. I'm kind of going back over this and thinking about them. Yeah, Alphonse, I like, they're all stacked fodder-wise, but Alphonse is just absurd. Inheritable distant counter skill with a Divine Bane in it. A new guard that is true DR and true damage and attached to it with unconditional scowl and Breath of Life all at the same time. Yeah, that is some excellent fodder, especially when all 3 of those skills are should pretty much be unconditional across basically anybody.
The battle is mine.
The distant counter one is probably locked to melee, but that's probably the only restriction on it. Yep. Yep, and the 4 sparks. Alright. Well, I think I'm pretty happy with this batch. I'm really liking how Felix and Robin are looking. I think Bernie's okay, but I think out of all of them, she might not age as well. Oddly, I think I would put Robin with her in that. I think Felix is going to age really, really strongly, just by virtue of a slaying 2 weapon and the potential for 4 actions with no buttons pushed. I think, right? Because, let's see, he can move, get 1 action, he gets 1 action after combat, he can get another action after Gale Force. That's 4 actions on his own. Only 3 of those can involve combat, but that's still 4 actions on his own. And Alphonse has the whole new mechanic going on with this special. I do think that Alphonse, while he's really solid, I think they're counting on a lot of the draw with him to be that new special mechanic, and I would be extremely surprised if we do not see more of that show up over the next few months of banners. I might actually change what I was saying, though, about Bernie and Robin. I think that Bernie's ability to just scale with penalties that are applied to her is really solid. What I'm worried about with her is that she may not be able to do her job as a nuke. You know, over time, as nukes continue to wage this endless arms race. Robin is also I think Robin could be a really solid support. Having her perf in the B slot is a really good way to just enable her, because it opens up her C slot for some of the other really strong support options. I could see Robin aging really well out of this batch. Yeah, I think that's what I'd probably go with. If I'm just predicting, say, by this time 2 years from now, which of these units are still relevant in some way, I think Robin is still going to be up there. And Bernie, maybe? I think the other three are kind of just under that. I don't know how many of these will age super well. I think they're all very solid now. But they also all sort of want to be carry units, which doesn't always age as well as it could. Like, just if we look at last year, for example, Corrin kind of disappeared very quickly, which I was a bit saddened by. Golfegg, surprisingly, Golfegg is actually still in a pretty decent spot, as long as you kit her out for AoE. She does need to set up for AoE and have a team to enable that, but she does still do pretty well in that role. Which, nicely enough, gives her a pretty distinct niche from the other Golfeggs. Who else did we get last year? Let's see. Those are the two I am merging, so they're the ones I remember most. But who else did we have? Oh right, there was Robin, who actually kind of surprised me with how hard he fell off. I expected his C-skill to be a much more effective support than it ended up being. I think it's still pretty solid to have, but having that in his C-slot really holds him back, which is something that the new Robin doesn't actually have a problem with. She does have that C-slot open, so I think she'll be a much more effective support than he is. Soren, yes. Soren, I think, actually aged reasonably well in Summoner Duels specifically. I haven't seen him in Ether Raids in a while, but from what I understand, he still has a pretty solid niche over in Duels. So he's aged alright. And I think I did predict that Soren was going to age pretty well because of that Savior bonus. Yeah, I think Robin, actually, out of this batch, is probably going to age the best. I do think they're all strong. Like I said, I do think they're all really strong now. I'm not sure, out of the other three, who else I would expect to age very well. Probably Alphonse, but we'll see. I think Alphonse's entire claim to fame is going to rest on how that special works, and like you said, I expect it to show up very soon on other units, and also is going to rise and fall completely as Ike does. I really do expect that if we ever start seeing something that just deletes Ike completely, that Ike has no hope of fighting, Alphonse is going to get deleted right with him. Felix, Felix might be in danger too, but I think he's going to be in a bit of the same boat as Brave Golvig, where just having access to those extra actions from his B slot is going to keep him relevant for way longer than he has any right to be. Yeah, I think obviously there will probably be a bit of slight personal bias since Robin and Felix are the two that I was looking forward to out of this batch, but I think Robin should probably age best out of all of them, just as especially as a one-off support option, just because of which slot her perf landed in, and it's a very effective support skill, especially when you can pair it up with more from the sea. Felix, I think, is also going to age really well. Extra actions they continue to age spectacularly well, and he gets 2 of them in one skill. Along with, the whole slaying 2 and everything that entails. I think Bernie and Alphonse would probably be tied for 3rd. There's a very good chance I'm proven wrong and that Alphonse is just an unstoppable monster. I am really liking what I see with him, but I don't know how well he's going to age over time. But I guess we'll see. There's another year of Fae ahead of us, and there's a lot that can happen in that time frame, as we've seen in the last year. I'm looking forward to this. I think I'm personally going to be... I'm not even sure if I'm going to be pulling for Bernie. I'll have to think about that. I'm definitely pulling the other 3 colors, so I'll be pulling red, green, colorless to at least the first 2 sparks. I might spark 3 times on this banner, we'll see. Probably going to try and hold myself to 2, but we will see how those first 2 sparks go. But yeah, I like it. I think this is a lot like last year. I think this is another really creative CYL batch, and it's going to give us a lot of fun options to play with. And part of the reason I like seeing a lot of creativity in CYL specifically is just because these are pretty easily accessible units to the entire player base. Everyone gets to pick one for free, no matter what. And they're rerun very regularly. So if you end up wanting to try and make them a merge project, they're some of the easier units to do that with. So, like I said, it's always nice to see them getting creative and doing new stuff with these characters, because they're toys that everyone has access to, and that's important. Especially in a game like this. So yeah, looking forward to playing around with them myself, and seeing what else comes next. So thank you everybody for tuning in for the slightly debated viewing party. Sorry about that earlier one too. I was not expecting a 10-minute delay on the trailer going up. I don't think anybody was. But we ended up having this tonight anyway. So thank you everybody for tuning in. And I think that's all for tonight. So cheers, have a good night, good luck with your summons if you're pulling on the banner, and with any of your matches and whatever other games you're playing. And I will see you all next time.